Welcome to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. Please sit back, relax, and join Brad Epstein, Jonathan Broderick, and Viana Barbu for an hour of entertaining information about HOAs and HOA law on AM 1380, The Answer.
Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday HOA Brunch. My name is Brad Epstein. With me today is Viana Barbu.
Yep, sadly no Jonathan today. I don't know what's going to happen with our sound effects. Hopefully we can make it through a whole hour without Jonathan sound effects today.
Oh, there we go. And there's Frank on the sticks. Jonathan Broderick is out setting up for a ugly sweater run with a lot of our HOA industry friends. If you'd like to join the show, please do so. Call us at 888-923-1380. This is KTKZ, The Answer. We're Angius&Terry. We're a law firm that represents community associations, so this show is all about community association law. Viana, what are we going to talk about today? What exciting thing are we going to talk about today?
Well, as you know, Brad, we talk about a really, really wide variety of topics that are of interest to community associations, but today is one that maybe is becoming more popular. It's electric vehicle charging stations, and believe it or not, there's actual law on this very particular topic. So in the past, we've talked about internal dispute resolution and CAI pet restrictions, elections, board meetings. And we've actually talked about a couple of energy efficiency type measures. We've talked about solar panel installation. We've talked about the new drought measures. And now we're talking about electric vehicle charging stations. It's going to be an interesting one.
Interesting one, absolutely. Electric vehicle charging stations. So the law about this is in the Davis-Sterling Act. The Davis-Sterling Act, that is the law that has to do with community associations, so condo associations, homeowner associations only. It's in the civil code of the California law. Other laws that have to do with associations are also found in the fair housing laws, federal and state, and also in the corporation code. But this is in the Davis-Sterling Act. And so in particular, I think the law is trying to, Viana, stay ahead of the curve on electric vehicle charging stations because we have the Chevy Volt, what else, the Tesla?
The Tesla. Yeah, and there's there's a Nissan Leaf, and there's also almost every brand of car now has an electric version. And I just learned this morning that actually there are different types of charging stations for some of these vehicles. So that's going to be a hot topic in the future, I think. And if there's an owner who has a Tesla and one who has a Chevy Volt, then they need to install two different types of charging stations.
Yeah, I guess thanks, Frank. I guess it's the plug from the vehicle. We were talking earlier about how we're seeing at malls, like a mall where there was a sign that said Tesla charging station only. And interesting, wondering, can I bring my Chevy Volt up or my Nissan Leaf up there and go ahead and plug in? Right. And maybe the plugs are different, right?
Initially, I thought that it was just some kind of snobby thing where, they were trying to not allow Chevy Volt owners to charge their Chevy Volts in the Tesla station. But apparently it's a legitimate concern, a legitimate difference of plug.
Yeah, and today we're also going to be playing Battle of the Board Members. We have Dolores and Virginia, both excellent board members. I've known Virginia a very long time. It's going to be great to have them join our show and play in the Battle of the Board Members contest at the fourth quarter of our show today.
And what I'm really interested in, Brad, is to see if in either of their communities they've had this discussion, if either the board has talked about this before, or if any owners have ever brought up the issue of charging their electric cars, or if they see that as an upcoming issue maybe in the future.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. So the factual circumstance or the hypothetical situation we're going to talk about is that an owner is informing their association's board at a board meeting. So an owner comes to a board meeting and they announce to the board, I'm going to buy a Tesla and I'm going to install an electric vehicle charging station in my carport. So this association our hypothetical association is a condominium association. So at this condominium association, it was a Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, and the owner comes in and says, hello, board members. I just wanted to let you know I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to buy a Tesla, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to install an electric vehicle charging station in my carport. And we're going to figure out how the board is going to handle the situation. Now, you have some stories. There's one from San Diego. Real life situations, though, right?
Right. So we have a California one, which we know exactly how the law would sort of apply to this situation. And then the other one, I believe, is from Michigan. So I'm not sure if their community association law, if their equivalent of the Davis-Sterling Act, if they have one, would kind of have the same provisions.
Yeah, what is sort of a side note is that California Community Association law is in fact different than most states. It's unique. A lot of the other states, they have what's called a uniform law called UCOIA, and that's a Uniform Common Interest Association Act, and it's a little bit different. It's more standardized, whereas California law is more particular. It's more specific on different types of aspects, including, but not limited to, electric vehicle charging stations. So this is new law, just a couple years old. And again, we're going to try and figure out what a board is to do when an owner comes in and tells them that they're going to go ahead and the owner is going to install an electric vehicle charging station in her carport. How should the board handle the situation? So this is just a verbal request. So that's important to note. It's a verbal request. It's at a board meeting. It's in the owner's carport. And it's always a question, well, what can an owner do in their carport? It's called exclusive use common area, so slightly different. We'll go into those definitions. So tell us about the San Diego story.
So in the San Diego story, we have it's kind of interesting. So we have a woman who bought for her mother, I believe, a Chevy Volt, and she wanted to just plug it into her garage. So this was a car that you could just plug into a regular typical outlet, I guess, you'd have in your garage. You didn't necessarily require a charging station, although you could certainly have one if you wanted to.
So just an extension cord, basically, huh?
Right. So she was going to charge it in her garage without any kind of extra installation required. And she went to the board, and in this community, the electricity was shared as part of their as owners' assessments. It was shared between the residents as part of their general monthly dues.
So in the carport, for instance, there'd be a light switch, there'd be an electrical outlet, and the association's assessments to all the owners includes the cost for that electricity. So that electricity isn't paid individual owner by individual owner, rather the association pays for it. Okay.
Right. And in San Diego, apparently SDG&E, I believe it is called. It's the electric company down there. They have a formula on their website that you could use for each type of vehicle to calculate about how much it would cost you to charge your vehicle.
Oh, so if you wanted to buy, say, a Nissan Leaf or Chevy Volt, you could go ahead and go online to the electric company's website, and it would say, oh, it's going to cost you this much per charge or per month.
Yeah.
Okay. For like an average charge or something.
Right. So it seems like for this particular car, it would cost about $28 a month, and the owner was willing to pay the extra $28 that her particular car would cost. So in excess of the regular HOA monthly dues.
$28 a month. That's not too much, right?
That's not bad.
No.
So she volunteered to pay the extra money, but the association said no, because what they wanted her to do is comply with the architectural rules in the community and actually install a separate charging station and submit architectural plans for approval to the ARC, to the Architectural Review Committee, actually install a separate charging station, and then come up with an entire proposal, go through the entire process. So they did not approve of the idea of her just plugging it into
Just plugging it in. They wanted her to separate the electricity charging for her car, separate that from the regular electric bill that the association pays every month and then allocates among all the homeowners, separate it out. And so they want her to turn in a application to the association, just like if the owner was going to do some change to the exterior of her home, an architectural improvement application. Okay, so it doesn't seem so bad. So we're going to have to figure that one out as well. So we have two factual scenarios that we have to figure out, and we're going to apply the law of the Davis-Sterling Act, and that is Civil Code Section 4745, right?
That's right.
Okay, so what that provides is that associations, they cannot effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict owners from doing this. So that's step one. So it's Civil Code Section 4745, electric vehicle charging stations in the Civil Code, Davis-Sterling Act. We're going to look at these factual scenarios. We're going to walk through the law, and then we're going to play battle of the board members today.
Yeah, and hopefully we have some callers. Please call us and let us know if you've dealt with this issue in your community association. It's 888-923-1380.
If your community association has a good relationship with their current management company, you can stop listening. However, if you are struggling with your current service provider, we'd love to talk with you to see if Omni Community Management would be a good fit. Transparency, education, communication, and trust are just 4 of the qualities that set Omni apart. This is Rolf Crocker, CEO of Omni. Call us at 916-965-8964. That's 916-965-8964. Online at omni-mgt.com. That's omni-mgt.com. Omni Community Management, your friend in the community association management industry for over 20 years.
Have you ever heard of the saying, a person's home is their castle? Of course you have. But sometimes a construction defect can turn your castle into a catastrophe. If this happens to you, you need proper and professional representation. You need Angius&Terry, LLP. For over 30 years, the attorneys at Angius&Terry have been effectively serving homeowners and community associations, recovering more than $500 million on behalf of their clients. Angius&Terry strives to ensure that your construction defect claims are prosecuted in an aggressive and cost-effective manner. Angius&Terry will also continue to work with homeowners and community associations after the construction defect claims are concluded to make sure that the money received from builders is spent wisely and that your interests are protected during the repair process. Don't let a construction defect turn your castle into a catastrophe. Call Angius&Terry LLP today at 916-567-1400. That's 916-567-1400. Online at angius-terry.com. Angius&Terry LLP. Professional Parking Enforcement, or PPE, was created to provide effective parking solutions for all types of parking issues. PPE focuses on parking problems of HOAs and can quickly eliminate these problems through their system of property inspection, violation updating, ticketing, and enforcement. Contact PPE today at 702-283-0628, online at ppenv.com. PPE, promoting harmony in HOAs through parking and compliance enforcement. We take time to understand your community's needs.
Silver Creek Association Management.
We solve small problems before they become big ones.
Silver Creek Association Management.
We help make your community a better place to live.
Silver Creek Association Management.
It's what we do, because an association is more than just a bunch of homes. It's a community of people. We work with you to make better communities so homeowners can enjoy better lives.
Silver Creek Association Management. Online at sc-manage.com. That's sc-manage.com.
News, opinion, insight. AM 1380. The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein, Jonathan Broderick, and Viana Barbu on AM 1380. The Answer.
Welcome back. Yeah, this morning it's just me, Brad Epstein, and Viana Barbu, and Jonathan Broderick isn't here today. He's out setting up for the ugly sweater run.
Yeah, I actually saw his clothes yesterday. It really was the most hideous thing I've ever seen. He had a Christmas cat sweater, elf pants, an elf hat, and then a variety of other things on top of that. So it really was. If you find the ugliest dressed guy out there, that's going to be Jonathan.
That is ridiculous, but fantastic. So it's ugly. Yeah, I was at a Christmas party yesterday, and there was a contest, ugly sweater contest. I got third place. I was so happy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hopefully it wasn't the shirt you're wearing today, right?
Yeah. Well, welcome listeners. 888-923-1380 if you'd like to join. And we do have 2 illustrious board members. We have Dolores and Virginia on the line. Dolores and Virginia, you are now live on the air, and we welcome you because we love the part of our show, and so do our listeners, a battle of the board members. It's really easy contest at the end. No pressure. Just do the best you can. So let's hear from you, Dolores and Virginia. First, you, Dolores, how are you doing today? How is it going, Dolores?
Well, I'm doing fine. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Your voice sounds nice and clear. That's fantastic. And Virginia, good to hear from you. I've known you for many years. Virginia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine.
And you sound clear as well. Fantastic. Okay, you guys, so it's just going to be a true-false game at the end. It's our Battle of the Board Members game show, and the first place winner is going to get a $100 gift card. The second place winner is going to get a $50 gift card. Just a little competition. Sometimes it gets kind of, I would say contentious, but we'll keep it civil. And it will come later in the show, so just hang on, relax, enjoy the show. Anyone else, if they want to call in and just say hi, 888-923-1380. We're talking about electric vehicle charging stations. And our scenario, a couple scenarios. One is at a condominium association, an owner informs their board at a meeting she's planning to buy Tesla, install a charging station in her carport. So, well, let me just first define carports. Carports are exclusive use common areas. So you could separate the association into the unit, that's the home, the common area, everything outside that airspace, and the exclusive use common areas. Those are the little places in common area that individual owners have exclusively for their own. And so the law is at Civil Code Section 4745. We're not going to test you on that. But
That's not part of the question.
That's not part of it.
But what that code section says might be on the test, so listen up, everybody. So basically what this civil code section says is that restrictions in the governing documents that either prohibit or unreasonably restrict the installation of electric vehicle charging stations in an owner's designated parking space, which includes, is not limited to, it could include a deeded parking space, a parking space in the owner's exclusive use common area, which, Brad, you just defined, it would be like a carport, or a parking space that is specifically designated for use by a particular owner. So you cannot have a restriction that either effectively prohibits or unreasonably restricts an owner from installing a charging station in any of those areas.
Right. And so the key in the law is, and you'll hear this a lot, people will talk with an attorney and they'll say, oh, it's always about, the law pivots on what is reasonable. What is reasonable? And it seems like that is such a subjective term. And so what the law tries to do is put some objectivity to the definition of reasonable. And Viana, in this case, how do they define a reasonable restriction? How does the Davis-Sterling Act at this section 4745 for community associations to determine what kind of restrictions a board of directors can go ahead and adopt, right, through a rule or otherwise? How is the court to determine whether it's reasonable or not?
So this might be one of the shortest definitions I've seen generally in statutes.
In any law,
it's not necessarily any clearer than, those really lengthy definitions. So a reasonable restriction in this case is a restriction that does not significantly increase the cost of the station or significantly decrease its efficiency or specified performance. So you cannot have a restriction that either makes the installation of that charging station very costly or decreases its efficiency. What is a significant increase in efficiency or a significant decrease in efficiency or an increase in price mean? That's not defined. So that's where boards will have a little bit of something to contend with.
Right. And so, like, for instance, if the board of directors says when any owner is going to submit an application for an electric vehicle charging station, they must pay a fee of $1,000. Okay, this is just an example. So in that case, maybe a court would say, well, unless you have a justification for that $1,000 fee, you are unreasonably restricting it because you are significantly increasing the cost of it. You're putting a cost on the owner. So the idea is an owner comes to the board and says, I want to install a charging station. Board of directors then says, you must comply with these particular restrictions. And that's when the law says, oh, they better be reasonable. The law is trying to push, it's trying to favor, it's trying to say, owners, we want, or people in the state of California, we want you to consider switching to these low emissions, no emissions type of vehicles, right?
Yeah. So you know what I also find interesting about this law is that it defines the electric vehicle charging station, what that means. And that is basically a station designed in compliance with the California Building Standards Code that delivers electricity from a source outside the vehicle into one or more electrical vehicles. And a station may include several charge points simultaneously connecting several electric vehicles to the station and any related equipment needed to facilitate charging. So to me, in that San Diego case where the woman wanted to just plug in her car into her garage, it seems like the definition of station would have been met. So I don't think she necessarily had to install a special separate port. What do you think?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying, so the woman down in San Diego, our second scenario, that woman, she went ahead and just simply plugged the vehicle into the electrical outlet in her carport. And you're saying hey, that's an electric vehicle charging station right there.
Well, I guess the station that is not designed by the California Building Standard Code because it's just a plug, you're plugging into the
Right,
wall.
so we don't know that answer. So we would
Right.
that determination would have to be made whether that is in California Building Standards Code. So that's a building code, the California
Right.
Building Code. And
I hope our plug is designated, designed in compliance with that, but you never know.
right, 3 prongs with the ground and everything, right? And so that's an open question. We don't know. The charging stations, so they must be designed with the state code, okay, and it's from electrical outlet outside the vehicle, and so I guess that doesn't include battery charges then.
Right.
Okay, so this is a little different than battery charges. All right, so our owner in our scenario, they went to the board of directors meeting, 6 o'clock, and they were the only homeowner there. And
Like usual, generally.
yeah, associations, board meetings, if they don't have very many homeowners showing up, it means the board's doing great, right?
Yeah.
Right? Homeowners show up when there's trouble afoot. And so is that okay for the owner to just go ahead and make a verbal request and let the board approve it? Or put it the other way, can the board require the owner, Viana, to go ahead and comply with its architectural approval requirements?
Yeah, I would say that they definitely are allowed to do that. Not only are they allowed to do that, I think they're encouraged to do that if they want to be in compliance with the law. So the Civil Code section that discusses electric vehicle charging stations actually has a provision for that. It says that if the approval is required for the installation of EV charging station, the application for approval will be processed in the same manner as a regular architectural review committee application would be processed, which should be in writing.
Okay.
Well, at least the approval or denial of the application needs to be in writing, and the application has to be denied within 60 days or else it will be deemed approved. So the board has to be very careful about making sure that they approve or disapprove any application of this type within 60 days, or else they risk deeming it approved even if they don't want that.
Those are 2 important points that we want to underline. Number 1 is that if an association does require approval, so not every association must require an owner to approve it. Association could have no architectural approval requirements and the owner simply just do different types of installations or improvements. However, that's pretty rare. Most associations, especially in this type of scenario where there is common area with exclusive use common area with carports, in those cases the association does require almost every time the owners to submit a written application to the board, to the management company, in order for the association to review the application, the written application, and determine whether that application is for an improvement that it complies with the association's CC&Rs.
Right. And so generally those applications are in writing. And as you mentioned, and even if the law doesn't specifically say the application has to be in writing, it does have to comply with whatever procedure the association has in place, which is generally in writing. But then you have to be careful about the approval or denial of that application, which the law actually says it must be in writing. So you have to make sure that the ARC, the Architectural Review Committee, reviews that application and issues a ruling, a decision in writing, and again within 60 days.
Okay, so that's what I also want to underline. Within 60 days. So what, Viana, are the repercussions if an association fails to respond to an owner's application to install a charging station within 60 days? What punishment, what happens to the association in that case?
Well, first of all, the application will be deemed approved. So that could have some serious repercussions if the application, if this charging station perhaps is not in compliance with law, or it's in a really awkward place in the association, or so that could be a serious issue. And then, of course, associations, if they don't comply with the provisions of this law, they can face a penalty up to $1,000. A fine up to $1,000, and also if an owner would bring a lawsuit to enforce the law, basically the attorney's fees, whoever wins that lawsuit would be awarded attorney's fees. So if the association loses, then they'd have to pay the owner's attorney's fees.
Right. And in a lot of cases, association versus homeowner, a lot of lawsuits, the tail wags the dog in that the dispute doesn't have a high monetary value. It might have a lot of principle behind it. However, the loser would pay the winner's attorney's fees in the lawsuit, so it's really important. So we're going to talk when we come back about when owners want to install in the common area outside of if there's no carports, outside their exclusive use common area, right there in the common area, they come to the board and say, we want to put a charging station over here. What are we going to do?
All right, and in the meantime, please call us 888-923-1380. We really want to hear your electric vehicle charging station story.
Hi, this is Rick Russo, owner of Russo Insurance Agency and Financial Services. We proudly serve Granite Bay, Roseville, Rockland, Sacramento, Lake Tahoe, and the surrounding areas. At Russo Insurance Agency, we like to say, get to know us before you need us. Our insurance agency is built on relationships and trust. If you want to be certain that your most valuable assets are insured correctly, allow us to give you more than just a 15-minute quote. For all your commercial, home, auto, and life insurance needs, call us today at 916-791-1901. That's 916-791-1901 or online at rickrussoinsurance.com. That's rickrussoinsurance.com. Thank you.
Having trouble understanding your community association's reserve study? Does your HOA's reserve study seem to be written in a strange language? Hi, I'm Robert Browning, owner of the Browning Reserve Group. At the Browning Reserve Group, we have been providing easy-to-understand reserve studies since 1999. We actually listen to our communities and help them plan for the future. Find us online at browningrg.com. That's browningrg.com or toll free at 877-708-0600. That's 877-708-0600. Clarity from complexity, the Browning Reserve Group.
If you are a community association or manager, you know your banking relationship is vital to your success. At Sacramento Bank of Commerce, a division of Redding Bank of Commerce, our industry expertise and personal attention make that task a breeze. With our specialized banking, lockbox, online banking, and remote deposit capture, trips to the bank are no longer necessary. And Sacramento Bank of Commerce can help your communities with a loan to repair, replace, or upgrade the investment. For local decisions and in-house processing, get in touch with our team today. Call Sacramento Bank of Commerce at 916-772-0131. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you see the story about the Homeowners Association? I wonder what their residents think.
I don't know, but I love my condominium association. The place looks great and is well managed, and our property values are increasing.
Well, that's a good thing.
Community Associations Institute, CAI, has helped us build a great community. They have tools for safeguarding our investment, including education for our board and professional training for our manager. Just visit CAI at responsiblecommunities.com.
Okay, responsiblecommunities.com.
AM 1380. The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein, Jonathan Broderick, and Viana Barbu on AM 1380, The Answer.
Welcome back, and we are the Saturday HOA Brunch. And if you would like to join the conversation, it's 888-923-1380. We have our two board member battlers on the line. We have Virginia and Dolores, and just want to talk to you a minute and find out where your association is, where you're from, what part of California are you from, your association, and how long you have been on the board of directors. So Dolores, first you. How long have you been on the board, and where is your association?
I'm with the, hold on, let me turn my radio down.
Oh, she already knows the rules. She's a professional when it comes to coming on the radio. I love it.
Well, thank you.
I'm with San Juan Association, and I've been on the board 13 years.
For 13 years. Okay, yeah. I would consider 13 years to be a veteran, right?
Yeah, accomplished board member.
Right. Okay, and Virginia, where is your association? What city is it? And how long have you been on the board?
Well, our association is Touchstone Lake Homeowners Estates Association.
Right, estates, right.
Yeah, we've got homeowners and all kinds around us. Anyway, we are with Touchstone Estates, and we're in West Sacramento, California.
Excellent. And how long have you been on the board, Virginia?
You know, I was sitting here trying to calculate in my mind, and I think it's probably been at least 20 years.
It has been at least 20 years because, yeah, way back in the day, I was just starting out. I was just a baby in the industry, and I met you on the board of directors then, and you were a great board member then, and you must have been a rookie then, just like me. So we've both grown in our careers for community associations. Okay, we're going to then go back to the law, and Viana's going to talk to us about the law, and then a little bit later we're going to go to the true/false questions for the quiz. So Viana, go ahead and tell us about electric vehicle charging stations and about what if an owner is in fact going to, so at this point we're going to say that the board of directors has said that, owner, you can indeed install your electric vehicle charging station in the common area or in your carport. However, we need you to comply with some particular requirements. And so what does the law provide with respect to that?
Well, the law provides that the homeowner must obtain HOA approval and agree in writing. So that's actually in the law. The owner must agree in writing to the following 4 criteria. So he or she has to comply with the association's architectural standards, which in this scenario they've already gotten approval for. The second one is very important. They must engage a licensed contractor to install the charging station. So they're going to have a professional licensed contractor install the charging station. They cannot just try to put a charging station together themselves or have someone that's unlicensed.
Not the old do-it-yourself with electricity, huh?
We've all seen that home improvement show, right? We know how that works.
Or you'll get on the news, too, when you burn down the carport.
So also within 14 days of approval, once the association approves the architectural review application, the owner has to provide a certificate of insurance that names the association as an additional insured under the owner's insurance policy in the amount set forth above. So basically in the amount that the law says it's required. So, and the last prong is that the owner has to agree in writing to pay for the electricity usage associated with that charging station. So you have to have a licensed contractor install the charging station. You have to provide a certificate of insurance naming the association as an additional insured, and you have to pay for electricity usage associated with the charging station.
Okay, so these are requirements that the law sets forth. If an owner wants to install a charging station, they must indeed comply with all this. They have to comply with the architectural standards. They have to get a licensed contractor. They have to have the association as an additional insured, and they must pay for the electricity, right?
Right.
Okay, so additional insured. So this can be a little confusing, and maybe it's a term that some board members and owners aren't familiar with. So additional insured, what does that mean?
So basically under an insurance policy, when you have an additional insured, you have another party that is also insured under that insurance policy that is not the primary basically person that the insurance policy is for, but you're insuring that third party in the event that through some negligence of your own or through some fault of your own, that party gets somehow damaged.
Right.
Suffer some damage.
Exactly. So it's a liability policy, and as you're going to tell us in a minute, it has to be at least $1 million policy for this charging station that an owner must have. So the charging station is in the common area or exclusive use common area, and the law says, owner, you want to have that charging station, you must have a $1 million liability policy that goes ahead and covers not only your own liability, but the association's liability.
Right.
And we were talking with Frank on the Sticks earlier, and he's saying, wow, that could be expensive to have $1 million policy that covers with respect to liability from a charging station.
Yeah, it seems excessive, but, if you've ever seen any kind of personal injury cases, any kind of negligence cases, the bills rack up really quickly. So what if that charging station causes a major fire, and $1 million doesn't seem that high anymore when you burn down a house, right? So
right, exactly, or get injured. Yeah, exactly.
So I think the question becomes then, what happens once, we have the charging station installed, we've complied with all these requirements, and then what? You have this charging station, on the property for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Who is going to be responsible for it from here on out? What if the owner sells the property? So the law actually does provide for that. So the owner and each successive owner of the charging station will be responsible for all of the following issues, basically. The cost of damage to the charging station or any other area, common area, exclusive use common area, or separate interests, resulting either from the installation of the station, from the maintenance, from the repair, or from the removal or replacement. So the costs for damage are going to be the responsibility of the owner and each successive owner. The cost for maintenance and repair will also be the responsibility of the owner and successive owner. The cost of electricity, and the owner will also be responsible for disclosing to prospective future buyers the existence of the charging station, and also the responsibility is of the owner. So the owner will not only have to tell future buyers that they have a charging station on the property, but also what the responsibilities associated with that station are.
Excellent. So when we come back, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about when an association wants to install charging stations, and then we're going to review a little bit, and then we're going to play Battle of the Board Members.
Hi, I'm Morgan Fussell. My company, Broadband Agreements, negotiates cable television and broadband right of entry, access, and compensation agreements for your communities. At Broadband Agreements, we offer a free review of all agreements with a signed letter of authorization. Broadband Agreements will improve your community's income and/or savings, or you don't pay us a dime. Visit us at broadbandagreements.com. That's broadbandagreements.com. Or call me, Morgan Fussell, directly at 916-939-5026. That's 916-939-5026. Broadband Agreements online at broadbandagreements.com. or 916-939-5026.
The challenges presented by today's economy and rebounding housing market is forcing many homeowners association boards of directors to operate their HOAs more like a business. It's a balancing act of trying to stay solvent and still provide homeowners with quality amenities and services. One of the main challenges HOA boards are facing is attempting to recover unpaid HOA fees owed by delinquent homeowners. Collection efforts are often very time-consuming. If you want to get the HOA fees collection monkey off of your back, call ATC Assessment Collection Group. ATC is an attorney-supervised collection company, providing collection and foreclosure services to HOAs in both California and Nevada's most recognizable communities. Get back to what you actually volunteered to do as an HOA board member. Effectively oversee your community. Call ATC today at 916-641-1410. That's 916-641-1410. Online at atcacg.com. That's atcacg.com. ATC Assessment Collection Group. Professional Parking Enforcement, or PPE, was created to provide effective parking solutions for all types of parking issues. PPE focuses on parking problems of HOAs and can quickly eliminate these problems through their system of property inspection, violation updating, ticketing, and enforcement. Contact PPE today at 702-283-0628, online at ppenv.com. PPE, promoting harmony in HOAs through parking and compliance enforcement. We take time to understand your community's needs.
Silver Creek Association Management.
We solve small problems before they become big ones.
Silver Creek Association Management.
We help make your community a better place to live.
Silver Creek Association Management.
It's what we do, because an association is more than just a bunch of homes. It's a community of people. We work with you to make better communities so homeowners can enjoy better lives.
Silver Creek Association Management. Online at sc-manage.com. That's sc-manage.com.
News, opinion, insight. AM 1380. The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein, Jonathan Broderick, and Viana Barbu on AM 1380, The Answer.
Welcome back, and we are in the fourth quarter of our show. This is the Saturday HOA Brunch. We're talking about electric vehicle charging stations. I find it really interesting because it's on the cutting edge. The Davis-Sterling Act is on the cutting edge of the law, right?
Right.
Okay, and so we're going to go over a little bit more of the law, and then we're going to hit Battle of the Board Members with Virginia and Dolores. So hang on the line, you guys. Just a couple more points. Viana, what if an association wants to install a charging station in the common area for the use of any owners who have electrical vehicle charging stations? Our associations, can they go ahead and do that?
Yes, they could definitely do that. They have to go through the same process. Basically, the owner has to I mean, sorry, not the owner, but the association has to go through the same process. So they may do that.
So they're both permitted. Okay, well, good. Now, what if an association and an owner get into a dispute? What if an association doesn't comply with this law that is trying to promote electric vehicle charging stations installations by owners? So what are the repercussions if it goes to a lawsuit?
So the repercussions that are actually in the law are the following. There's two. So one, the winner of the lawsuit is guaranteed to be paid reasonable attorney's fees from the other side, the losing party in the lawsuit. And the other issue is that the association may be liable for up to $1,000 in fines if they don't comply with this part of the act. So they may be fined up to $1,000.
Okay, so they may be have a civil penalty assessed against them by the court, and that is going to be paid to the owner. The owner sues the association, and they win. The owner gets their attorney's fees. They get the civil penalty of $1,000 and plus any other damages that they suffer. So let's give a quick summary of this law. An owner wants to install in the exclusive use common area in their carport. They go to the board of directors. It must be an application in writing, right, Viana?
Right.
And also how long does the association have to respond to the application?
So they have 60 days to approve or deny it in writing. If they do not comply with that, then the application will be automatically approved within 60 days.
Automatically approved, yeah.
And then when the owner is approved to install the charging station, they have to hire a licensed contractor. They have to have an insurance policy of up to $1 million, naming the association as an additional insured. And they have to be responsible for the costs of the electricity, as well as take on the responsibility of damage from either the installation or removal of the station or the maintenance. And if the association wants to, they may create a new parking space where one did not previously exist in order to facilitate the installation of an EV charging station. And I think that kind of says it all. I don't know if I could talk any faster.
No, I think you did an excellent job. I think if you were to play Battle of the Board Members, you would do quite well.
I would win.
Right. So associations, they must comply with all these laws. The owner must too. And I think the one kind of gray area is where the association can impose reasonable restrictions on owners' installation of electric vehicle charging stations, reasonable restrictions. And what does that mean? It can't significantly increase the cost or significantly decrease the performance.
Right.
Okay.
And I think we're ready to play. I'm really excited about this one.
Ready to play. Okay, so Virginia and Dolores, we are going to get going here. It's going to be 3 rounds. The first 2 rounds are 3 questions. The last round is 5 questions, lightning round. And the first round is we'll have to flip a coin. And Dolores, could you please call it in the air, heads or tails? Okay, Dolores, heads or tails?
Heads.
Heads it is. Dolores, you are going first. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. What you can do is sometimes I fumble with saying the question. In that case, I want you to just say, hey, please repeat the question. Please repeat the question. That's just fine. We know our listeners at home, they like to play along too, and sometimes the questions get a little bit convoluted. We try and avoid that. And so, Dolores, are you ready? Question number 1, Dolores. True or false? Associations may not impose restrictions on owners' installation of electric vehicle charging stations.
And what did you say, that they may not?
Yeah. So I'm going to say it again. Associations may not impose restrictions on owners' installation of electric vehicle charging stations.
They can impose reasonable restrictions.
That is right. So that one is correct.
So it's false.
It is
so
false, and she was correct on that one. Number 1. Number 2, Dolores. If an association does not respond to an owner's application to install a charging station within 60 days, the application is deemed approved. True. Very good. That's the big time limit. And let me just say now that there is a contrast. With solar, it's 45 days. Solar associations. Okay. Number 3. Associations that prohibit owners from installing charging stations in their exclusive use common areas must pay penalties.
True
it is. 3 for 3. Great job.
All right. Virginia, are you ready?
Am I going to be that easy?
Maybe.
I hopefully.
Maybe they're even easier.
All those.
All right, Virginia, are you ready for your 3 questions?
All right.
All right, and if you can't hear me well and you want me to repeat any of these, I will. Just let me know. So question number 1. An owner need not comply with the association's architectural rules when installing electric vehicle charging stations.
Well, that'd be, you said, well, false.
Right. They do have to comply with the architectural rules. So question number 2. An association rule is valid even if it is in conflict with the CCNRs.
No, false.
Right. That was kind of a tricky one.
That's outside the scope. But good job on that one.
Okay. Reasonable restrictions, that's the 3rd question. Reasonable restrictions are restrictions that do not significantly increase the cost of the station or significantly decrease its performance.
True.
Right. Wow, it's a tie. We have Dolores 3 and 3. And
Okay,
Virginia
3 to 3. Round 2. Dolores, you are up. Question number 1. An owner must hire a licensed contractor in order to install a charging station in the common area.
Contractor. Hello?
I will repeat it. Dolores, and true or false, an owner must hire a licensed contractor in order to install a charging station in the common area.
True.
Exactly. Nice job. Number 2. The association is responsible for damage to the exclusive use common area caused by an owner's installation of a charging station.
False.
That is correct. Number 3. To adopt rules, a board must have authority to do so through the governing documents.
True.
True it is. 3-all.
I think these questions are a little too easy. Everybody's getting all of them right. All right, Virginia, are you ready? Okay, question number 1.
I don't get any points for getting hers right, too.
No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
Question number 1. Electric vehicle charging stations must meet applicable health and safety standards.
True.
Right. Number 2. Owners need not disclose to prospective buyers their responsibilities about their charging stations.
False.
Wow. On a roll here. Number 3. If a rule has not been enforced, a board may have no choice than to grandfather in old violations.
Ooh. Can you repeat that one?
Yeah, that's another trick question. Well, it's not a trick question. It's just one we haven't explicitly covered.
It's a tricky question.
Yes. If a rule has not been enforced, a board may have no choice than to grandfather in old violations.
If it has not been enforced, they can grandfather in old violations. I would say false to that one.
Oh, the first loss of the 2 rounds. So that's true. Yes, we can talk about that in a little bit. Let's get through the lightning round, and we may have to.
Okay, Dolores, back to you, and we're going to go 3 questions each. So this is back to you, Dolores. Okay. Number 1. It is the owner's responsibility to pay for the electricity usage associated with a charging station.
True.
Exactly. A rule is valid and enforceable only if it is in writing.
True.
Exactly. And last one, for you, Dolores, the owner of the charging station in exclusive use common area must maintain a liability policy in the amount of at least $1 million.
True.
And that is true. Okay, she is perfect.
Perfect streak. Okay, Virginia, we're going to go through 3 more questions. Number 1. Rules may never conflict with the CCNRs.
True.
Number 2. The denial of an application to install an electric vehicle charging station must be in writing.
Why am I getting these tricky things?
Well, yeah, we made it harder on you.
We're going to...
So the denial of an application to install an electric vehicle charging station must be in writing.
Yes, true.
Yes, that's right. And the last question, if an association is an additional insured, then it may enforce the insurance policy as an insured.
Say that one more time, sorry.
If an association is an additional insured, then it may enforce the insurance policy as an insured.
Okay, you've got music playing in the background. I couldn't quite hear the...
We're going to give you credit for that one, right? Yeah,
Right.
we're going to give so that one they can. If they're additional insured, they may enforce it. Hey, you guys, that's our show. You both did fantastic. In Virginia, you had some tricky questions.
I think she only missed one, really.
She only missed one, so...
well, actually, I know the answer. I just didn't quite understand the question.
That's what I thought. So we appreciate you guys are great sports, and we appreciate being on the show. And we're going to contact you next week to give you your gift cards. Listeners, thank you again this week for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.